Joining us in studio is Executive Vice President and General Manager Nick Caserio. Nick, congratulations on the most recent win. Short week, a lot of work to do, so let's get to it. First, a review of the victory over the Indianapolis Colts. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like a lot of games in the league, made enough plays in the end to come out on the right side of the ledger there. So had our moments. Defense played well, take the ball away, put pressure on a quarterback, handle third down well, offensively, ran the ball well. I mean, as the game got going there a little bit, Joe had some really good runs. Threw the ball fairly effectively. Had our moments. Made some good plays. CJ made a lot of good decisions with the football. Made a few plays in the kicking game, a couple long returns, 2 good kickoff returns, long punt return, or 13 or first down on a punt return. So made enough plays in the end, and think that you go look around the league. I mean, 8, 9 games were one-score games, including a number of games that came down to literally the last play of the game. So that's what the NFL is about. So credit to the players, credit to the staff. Put ourselves in a pretty good position, and it's good to get the win at home against a division opponent. Now it's time to flip the page and get ready for the Jets.
Nick, whenever you sign a player, trade for a player, draft a player, we've always talked about this, kind of what you think that player is going to be. When you signed Danielle Hunter and you thought at that point, you visualized, okay, what this could be with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, those two together off the edge, is it sort of living up to that and maybe beyond what you expected, what you visualized, what you signed Danielle Hunter back in March?
Yeah, you're not necessarily signing a player just, okay, we're going to compliment so-and-so with this player. Right. It's just look at the own player through his own lens, evaluate the player. How does he fit our defense? Does he fit? Great. What are some of the other things that go into the player's overall makeup, and do we think he'd be a good asset to the football team? Danielle's been a good player for a number of years now. He's been very productive. He affects the quarterback. He affects the game in a positive vein for the defense. So he's got a great attitude. I mean, all business. You guys have spoken to him. I mean, doesn't say a lot. Yep. He kind of lets his work and his actions speak for his production, and that's really what you want in a player. So we're glad he's here. Look forward to continue to work with him, absolutely.
Well, Will says a little bit more in the interviews, and I like the fit with the cowboy hat, whatever he was wearing post-game, Nick, but more importantly, I like the play on the field. So your thoughts on his development here in year 2 and the impression he's given you?
Yeah, Will works very hard, and he cares a lot about winning, like a number of players here in the building, and he's always trying to find ways to improve and get better. His playing style, his demeanor, his mindset, his mentality has been the same day one. I mean, he's hair on fire all the time. He's probably one of the better run, defending defensive end in the league because of his ability to set the edge, and he also closes space on the backside with speed and with urgency. And then when you combine that with his ability to rush the passer and affect the quarterback, he's a very well-rounded player, which is why we drafted him where we did. So can't say enough great things about Will, who he is, not only as a football player, but he's probably one of the best people that we have, and always has a smile on his face, always has a good attitude, wants to be great, cares a lot about winning, and he goes out there and he puts it on the field, and he leaves it on the field, and then he comes back the next week and refuels that bucket and gets himself ready to go.
So you have a knack for signing players after we do our interview, so we don't get a chance to ask you during the interview. So I have to ask you before the game.
That's by design.
I know it is.
Right?
So I asked you Sunday about Devin White and just expectations. A guy that hasn't played all year, coming in week 8, whatever it was, steps up yesterday, has a number of reps. It looked like he was doing some good things. Nick, what'd you think about what Devin gave you on Sunday?
Yeah, he probably played maybe a few more reps than we had anticipated. I think he ended up playing, 35 snaps or something like that. So, but we didn't have Henry, didn't have Aziz. So we're kind of 3 for 2 between Nev, Jake, and then Devin. But Devin went in there. Devin's a good football player. You saw some plays. He chased downs there to the edge of the perimeter and near their sideline. I kind of saw the closing speed. Had an opportunity to finish on a quarterback a couple times. I mean, tackling Richardson's like tackling a defensive end, so he kind of just swatted him away. But instinctive player. Worked very, very hard all week, was in the building, really cared a lot about getting himself ready to go, spent a lot of time with Billy, and put himself in a position. He probably, I'm sure if you talked to him, was a little bit tired there and exhausted, so probably wasn't ready for 35 plays. So, but work in progress, but, glad he was out there on Sunday and he made some plays that helped us win.
All right, you brought up Billy. That's Bill Davis, linebackers coach, right? And we interviewed him last week, and he's an interesting guy, Nick, because he's been around the block. He was in Pittsburgh, Blitzburg in the early 90s, and he was with Dom Capers in Carolina. When you have a guy like that on staff, it's got to be interesting for you to pick his brain about certain things, right?
Yeah, Billy's a ball coach. He's great. He's awesome. Actually, sitting right next to him in the team meeting. So he and I are always having some dialogue back and forth. So his familiarity with D'Amico was a big part of why he's here. So he coached D'Amico in Philly.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of a relationship there. But he's a great coach, really good coach, has a way of communicating the information to the players and getting the players to understand like what's important on each play. So he's been a great asset to the staff, and he's a great personality. He's a great ball coach, so glad he's here.
Nick, a few decades ago when you were with New England, you had a guy by the name of Corey Clock Killing Dillon, and he wore number 28 for you guys. And I see Joe Mixon. I kind of see some of the same things. It's almost like this identity for you guys in that year became, we're going to lead on you, and then you're going to have to tackle this guy. Now, we haven't had big leads, but Joe's been able to carry that football when we have had a lead. What have been your thoughts about what Joe is giving to this offensive identity?
They grow pretty good backs there in Cincinnati.
That's
so
right.
They got a pretty good track record.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, Joe's been awesome. I think his playing strength and his ability to continually move forward with the ball. I don't know how many tackles he broke yesterday, but it was a fair amount. So he runs hard. He's in good condition. He gets better as the game goes on. And knock on wood, I probably put my foot in my mouth, but he takes care of the football. So that's always been something that's a big part of his game. Very versatile, can affect the passing game as well. Anytime you get to the ball, there's a play we got to the ball to him on a perimeter. He was able to turn kind of a nothing play into 8 yards. So Joe's a really good football player. So when he's on the field, he's helped our offense. And, it's credit to him, credit to DB. And it's about his mindset, the way he works. Even you go back and look at training camp, the way he practiced, he literally would finish every run and sprint to the end zone. So he's been durable. I know he had the ankle injury, but he's in good condition. He's strong. He's got really good playing strength. And he's versatile, so he's been a big asset to the team. There's no question about it.
Nick, there's so much talk about the offensive line and pass protection and blocking and everything, but it's more than just them, right? It's tight ends, backs. It's an in-concert, together kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, honestly, it's a little bit of a lazy narrative. So, there's so many components. You have 35, 40 passes, so the quarterback's not hitting every play. So, there's a defensive call where they have more than you can block. So you have to have an answer built into the play. So, we had our moments, times where CJ was able to maneuver in the pocket. He made a number of plays the other day where he kind of found some space and was able to deliver the ball. So part of playing quarterback is playing with a little bit of a dirty pocket. So I also think, we've got to be careful of painting a picture about the offensive line. We certainly had our moments. We ran for I don't know how many yards. We threw for 280 yards. So, there's a lot of positives. So the things that we have to get fixed, we're going to look at those and figure out a way to get them fixed. So, but sometimes you got to give a credit to the defense as well, because sometimes they have a call that's conducive to that situation that maybe doesn't match up with what you have called offensively. So that's the way it goes. So that group cares a lot. The coaches care a lot. So always looking for ways to improve. And if there's an opportunity for us to do that, then we will.
After Steph got hurt, you're now living life for the time being, without Nico, without Steph. So some young dudes got to step up. X makes that really nice catch across the middle. Mechie makes the one on the deep over route. Your thoughts about what you saw from those younger guys stepping up, making plays?
Yeah, a number of skill players kind of had a contribution there. Cade had a catch. Dalton had a productive day. So offensive football, you're eventually going to need all your skill players. So it just creates more opportunity for other players. So, Hutch has kind of done this really like his whole career to this point. Anytime he's kind of been called upon, he usually makes a play. Yeah. Had the third down catch here against Green Bay. Different, but similar circumstances to the play the other day. Then Metch had a good play there the other day. So whoever's available, we're counting them to go out there and do their job. If there's things that we can do, maybe you tilt some calls or do a few things a little bit different that are more conducive to those players. So Tank took advantage of some opportunities the other day. So we felt we had pretty good depth in that group. Certainly all your depth is tested at some point during the year. So be a big challenge this week going against the Jets defense in their secondary. But, whoever we have in the building, so whatever the best options are for that week, then we'll evaluate those and try to get them ready to go.
I know Johnny has a scouting question in the chamber ready to fire, but I'm going to go here first with the short.
Stealing it?
I'm not stealing the question.
I can
I
steal
would
your thunder,
not
don't
dare.
worry.
Okay.
But the short week, Nick, because we've lived through many years of Thursday Night Football now. Is there an evolution of the best ways to get ready for a Thursday nighter, especially when you're the traveling team?
Yeah, in the end, it's the most important thing is the player's recovery and their overall health. So it's probably more of a mental than a physical strain during the course of the week. And you add in the travel component. So, I mean, there's nothing we could do about that. So everybody kind of has to go through it once a week. You know, we're going to go through this later in the year as well, kind of the Saturday to Wednesday. So maybe there's some things scheduling wise or, hey, what worked? What do we find that we implemented that was good? Maybe next time around, okay, a little bit less of that. So, but the most important thing is just getting the players as recovered and ready to play as possible. And it's really about your mental preparation and then understanding who you're playing. And then once the ball is kicked, then it's about execution and it's about playing football.
So in a short week, does it go from 24-hour rule to 12-hour rule? Not sure.
I was watching the Jets last night. So.
Well, there you go. You knew where I was going with my question. We're done with the Colts, literally for the year. We're done with the Colts. 2-0 sweep for the first time since 2016. Congratulations, everybody. Very nice. Now it's the Jets.
Nobody's more excited than Mark, I'm sure.
I am so fired up.
Did you hear the call at the end? Bye-bye, Colts. That was awesome. Anyways.
I didn't say that.
New York Jets. We obviously know he's playing quarterback. They've traded for Devontae Adams. There's some things they've done. You had a chance to study him closer, Nick. Your thoughts about the New York Jets and what we're facing Thursday night?
Yeah, really talented football team. So they've been in pretty much every game. So you go back and look at the Buffalo game. The Steelers game kind of got away there a little bit. And even the New England game literally came down to the last play, 4th and goal from the 1. So explosive players kind of littered throughout the team. Offensively, everything starts kind of with Aaron. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback, so, I mean, this guy's been a good player, great player for a number of years. And then they have a pretty good skill group around him. I mean, really a 1-2 punch at running back with Breeze and then Braylon Allen. Yep. And then obviously traded for Devontae, but between Devontae, Garrett, and then Allen Lazard, 3 really good receivers who have versatility, can kind of play inside and outside the formation. Conklin's giving them some good production at tight end. They made some changes on the offensive line. Traded for Moses there in the offseason, so got pretty good play from Tippmann, Vera Tucker, and Simpson, who was in Baltimore. Yep. So Simpson and Moses were both in Baltimore last year. So, I mean, they've moved the football. They haven't turned it over too much. I think Pittsburgh got them a couple, but offensively they can score pretty much in any part of the field. And then defensively, I mean, all 3 levels have really good plays. Everything starts with the front. I would say there's some similarities to their defense as our defense. Everything's kind of front-driven. McDonald, I would say, is pretty much a breakout star. So really hard to block. I mean, I don't know. He's got 45, 50 total pressures. So can threaten the edge. And then add Reddick back in, certainly going to help them. And then inside with Q. And they've gotten good play out of Kinlaw. So, and they go 8-9 deep. They're going to play everybody. I mean, 2, I'd say, really good linebackers in Williams and when Mosley's available. And the guy that's had a really good year is Sherwood. But between Sherwood and Williams, they're fast as hell at the second level. Kind of had to deal with some injuries and some different things at safety. So there's been a multitude of players that have kind of been through there. But on the corners, it's been pretty much status quo with Sauce, DJ Reed, and then Michael Carter inside there at nickel. So put a lot of stress on offenses, can create rush with 4, tight coverage. So they present significant challenges on that side of the ball and have a really, I would say, an electric returner, combo returner, Xavier Gibson. So, I mean, they have talent up and down a roster. So the record is what the record is. So there's nothing we can do about that. That's all we can do is prepare to play a really good Jets team. Who I would say going up those of us that were here last year, I mean, a 0-0 game kind of turned into an ass whipping there in the second half. So, I mean, hopefully we can go up there and play better football and just get ourselves ready to go. Yeah,
I was wondering what last year's tape or how it would possibly help. I know some names have changed, but they have a lot of guys still there.
Yeah, no, you can go back and, matter of fact, watch that tape last week and kind of going through a little bit, and you saw some carryover. Schematically, I'm say there's some carryover, and then it obviously goes back to the individual players and maybe kind of look at some of the new components that are there. So it's a good football team on the road Thursday night. Everybody will probably be dressed up in a costume, so it'll be like we're going to, a Halloween party or something like that. So, but hopefully we can, have ourselves a good week of preparation and get ourselves ready to go.
I was going to toss some Tootsie Rolls up in the stands, but I might or might not do that. One of the things I've thought about Nick playing the Jets, it's almost like they want to drag you into their mud. Like they play a physical style. They clutch and grab on the outside. Sauce is going to, beat the receivers up. It's like, it feels like that's their kind of game. They're going to drag you down into their mud and make you play their game. Is that kind of the way you look at it, especially defensively?
Yeah, they play with a very physical mindset on both sides of the ball. So they can run the ball. Playing physical is about running the ball and stopping a run. So they play urgent. They fly to the ball. They get a lot of hats to the ball. They play aggressive. That's their mentality. That's their mindset. So we have to prepare for that. And quite frankly, that's our mindset as well. So it's, I would say, similar thought process, similar overall philosophy. The team that executes the best ultimately are going to be the team that wins.
We talked about Devin White earlier. When you're looking to sign a player like that who might be available, there are veterans who have done some things in this league, who have proven ability, and you're wondering what they have left and how they can help. There are younger guys who might turn into something. So how do you weigh all that out in different position groups? Do you stack them on a depth chart? What can you share with us?
Yeah, no, Mark, it's a great question. We're always kind of evaluating that. So if you have a younger player, maybe that player may not quite be ready. So what's the alternative? Is there a better option who he might be a little bit more prepared, more ready to go? So there's always a balance. I think our thought process is take advantage of an opportunity to add a player to the team that we think at some point can help us and continually develop our younger players, understanding at some point they're going to be thrust into a position where they're going to have to play. So there's a reason that the people that are in the building are in the building. So if we didn't think they were capable of helping us, then we probably would have moved on. So between our practice squad and our roster, so there's a little jockeying that goes back and forth. I would say when you get halfway through the year, which is about where we are now, it's more of attrition until the end. So at some point you're going to need everybody, but there is a little bit of a delicate balance there. And ultimately you just got to figure out that week, what do we think is the best option? And then go ahead with that plan, understanding that you have some other players that may be returning, or at some point they're going to be more ready to play than they are currently.
Nick, when you mentioned Rodgers, it got me thinking about, and you were around Tom for such a long time, as you play that position and you do it for as long as those guys have, what are kind of the trickier things that are not seen, like cadence, trying to draw you offside, trying to steal 5 yards? What are some of the things that maybe Rodgers can do that may give teams issues because he has kind of that knowledge and, he can do the hard count. He gets away with that sort of thing. What are some of the things that maybe he does that are hidden that maybe we don't see?
Yeah. With veteran quarterbacks, some of the nuances that go into playing the position, even if it's how you break the huddle, your pace at the line of scrimmage, your ability to change plays or change protections or get to the optimum look. And when you have such a wealth of experience, which I would say, players like Tommy and Aaron, they're as mentally as good as any player in the league. So they have a pretty good understanding of probably what's going on. So what you have to be careful of is playing too much of a cat and mouse game. But whether it's moving the defender with your eyes or you're going to throw the ball over here, so maybe you start on the other side. So there's certain tricks of the trade that you accumulate over time. But Aaron presents a lot of challenges because of his accuracy, number one. Number two, he can make pretty much every throw on the field, and he has good skill around him. So there's a reason that those players are going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. And over time, it's just some of the little intricacies and nuances that maybe a younger player hasn't quite reached that level. Yeah. But at some point, you're going to find a tool that's useful. I would say Patrick is probably close to them, even though he's a younger player. Yeah. But I'd say Patrick is on that trajectory as much as anyone.
Yep. This will put us 3/4 of the way through the AFC East tour, Nick. And you know this division so well historically in these buildings, all right? We went to New England, obviously. You know that. You've been to the Meadowlands many times. Is there anything unique about playing in New York? Because I know the Patriots kind of struggled at Miami from time to time. Buffalo, maybe not so much, but Buffalo's tough. What is it about the Meadowlands? Unique New York, which is a tongue twister, by the way. But what is unique about the Meadowlands in general going to New York?
Probably Fireman Ed. I can start there. But I think they have a really good fan base. They're into football. They make it difficult. Anytime you play on the road, you're dealing with a lot of different elements, and each city is a little bit different in terms of their approach, but it's a very hardened city. They care a lot about football and they want to see their teams do well. And I'm sure Fireman Ed will get them going here, whatever costume he's going to be wearing for Halloween. So ultimately it comes down to just understanding you may have to deal with some elements of playing on the road And it's going to come down to how well you execute whatever the conditions are.
Okay, now it's time for me to satisfy my contractual obligation. Brees Hall is a tremendous running back, but they've brought in Braylon Allen. And if you didn't know, I think he's 16 now, 17. That was a joke for a long time. He's a young back.
He's a young kid.
But what does he bring into the Jets as the complement to Brees Hall?
Yeah, in some respects, he's similar to Brees. I would say he's probably not quite as fast or quite as athletic, but this is a big, strong back that can get yards. And when he's going north and south, he's hard to tackle. So you saw that at Wisconsin. They kind of had a 1-2 punch, between himself and the kid, Melis, Chaz, whatever his name is.
Lucy.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but he's given them some good snaps. So, and Brees, I'd say the thing about him that's a problem is just his space ability. When he gets into space, he's hard to tackle. He's very elusive and he's fast. In some respects, he has some similarities to JT, who we just saw from Indy. So tackling is going to be important. So, and those two have given them good production. There's no question about it.
All right, Nick, we were going to ask you about Halloween, but we already did that with the candy and everything. Then I was going to ask you to cut a holiday from the holiday roster, but forget about that. Johnny said, well, what about the Super Bowl? Should the day after the Super Bowl be a national holiday? If you could make that happen, would you?
Yeah, probably for the city that wins the Super Bowl.
That's a good caveat. Yeah.
I'd be in favor of that. So you'd have to get all the mayors on board or whoever's involved in that. So I would say that day after, nobody's getting anything done. So in whatever city, even on the other end of it too. So, I mean, I've had the good fortune of being at 9 of those, and 3 of those were, I would say, less than the desired result, and you're probably better off having a day off, and everybody can just stay in their home or do whatever they're going to do.
What did you do the day after winning a Super Bowl?
You fly back the next morning.
You fly back next morning.
Yeah,
right?
no, you typically, after the game, you're with your family, and, I'm sure this is a shocking development, but I wasn't a big after party guy. I mean, I probably showed up for like 3 seconds.
Right.
But then the next day, you kind of get up, have breakfast, get your family together, get them on a plane. So that was a fun experience. Is just traveling back with your family. Yeah. Honestly, they don't know any better, so it doesn't really probably hit until you actually get home. So I mean, once you realize, all right, we're done playing football. Yeah. There's no more games. There's no more prep, at least through that lens. But my wife was always on me. She's like, well, you never had an off season because like whenever the season was over, you just transitioned to, going down to the Senior Bowl and talking to John at the Senior Bowl about all his write-ups.
That's right.
So, but yeah, as far as making a national holiday, sure, yeah, I'd be in favor of that. So
okay, we got one vote anyway. Good start.
For the town that wins, for the city that wins, that's the key.
Right. And I have 0 pull in the league, so I'm sure that will go a long way.
Yeah, and I think other people other than the league need to get involved. Nick, thanks a lot. Good luck this week.
Thanks, fellas.